Friday, someone asked if we were going to be doing new material, and my response was yes, which is why I didn't present it on Friday with half the class out. That would have meant that I was going to have to present again today, and I just didn't. I don't like doing that. So anyway, we're moving on in Chapter 11, and you might again think, wait a minute, you said we're in Chapter 11, and yet you've got a Chapter 10 item there. I do. Because it's been a while since we did, thank you very much, because it's been a while since we presented this material. I feel like we'd be better off to take a second look at it and then proceed with it. Now actually what Chapter 11 is looking at is how to post from special journals. And they're specifically addressing how to post from special journals to subsidiary ledgers. So in the first part of Chapter 11, we learned how to post from the purchases journal to accounts payable subsidiary ledgers, and also from the cash payments journal to accounts payable subsidiary ledgers. Well, today what we're going to look at is how to post from the sales journal to accounts receivable subsidiary ledgers, and also from the cash receipts journal to accounts receivable subsidiary ledgers. This is not my preferred way to teach this. I would prefer that they give me 5 journals full of transactions with all the ledgers needed, and we post those line by line and get it done that way. That is my preferred method of teaching this. And so you might think, well, why don't you just do that? They don't give me any problems set up that way. I would have to try to sit down and fill out a whole bunch of journals and then make sure I've got all the appropriate ledgers and do that. And that's just awkward. I would undoubtedly make a mistake. So I'm going to present it the way they're asking me to, but I don't like it. I really don't. Okay, so I'm going back to Chapter 10, where we introduce the sales journal, just so we can refresh our memory on how to use it, and then we'll talk about how to post from it. All right, now remember the sales journal is used for one transaction and one transaction type only, and that is what? When would we use the sales journal? And it gets quiet. I know it's been several weeks. Anytime we sell merchandise, what was it? On account. Now, if it's somebody walks into our store and they go to the cash register and they pay, no, that does not get journalized here. This would only be for those customers that we have granted credit rights. And so when we sell merchandise on account and we grant someone 30 days to pay, this is the journal that we would use. Are you wearing a Patriot shirt? I don't want to talk to you. Alex, would you like to fail my class also?
I'm sorry.
It was embarrassing. I couldn't even watch it. It was so embarrassing. I couldn't even watch it. Were you born in Indiana? Why would you root for New England?
I wasn't born in Indiana, so I'm a Browns fan. So I either had to root for Indiana or Patriots.
It's just almost unkind. I'm just jealous, Andrew, because I was planning on wearing my Colts attire today if we'd win. Although I really didn't think we would win, but I didn't think it was going to be that humiliating. All right, back on track. Let's record a few transactions here in the sales journal then, and then we'll talk about how to post from it. All right, I've gone back to Work Together 10-1. I don't expect you to do that. I expect you to just pay attention to me right now. And we will move into Applia after I've reviewed on paper. The sales journal for distinctive appliances is given in the working papers. Your instructor will guide you through the following examples. Using the current year, journalize the following transactions on page 9 of the sales journal. All right, September the 1st, sold merchandise on account to Adrian Mikowski. $800 was the amount of the sale, plus tax on that sale of $48 for a total of $848 S104. So we come to the sales journal, we put in the date, of course, September 1st. Now what do I put here under account debited? We sold merchandise on account to Adrian Mikowski. Adrian Mikowski. Do I need to put accounts receivable, Adrian Mikowski? No, because there's a special column for accounts receivable. I don't need to indicate the controlling account name when there is a column that has that account listed in it. All I need to know is who is the customer. And in this instance, it's Adrian Mikowski. Okay. The sale number was 104. I don't need to put an S in front of that because all of these are sales invoices. It says so in the column heading. Now, the amount of the sale the price on the merchandise was $800. The tax on that was $48. How much does Adrian owe me in total then? $848. Now I know you don't have this problem in front of you, so you're having to try to remember the numbers as I say them. So she owes me in total $848, or he, could be a man. The amount of the sale itself, just the price on the merchandise, was $800, and the tax on that was $48. Now this was a journal that when we did it first time through, you did not test very well on this chapter. There were a lot of mistakes made on this journal, even though I specifically said numerous times what's going to happen is people are going to put 800 here, 48 here, and 848 here. They want to put the numbers in the order that they're presented in the transaction in the book. Pay attention to your column headings. She does not owe us 800. She owes us the full amount, 848. The sale was 800, the tax is 48. Okay? Now, if we had recorded this transaction in a general journal, and I probably should have a general journal out here in front of me to do that. I think I've got one right here somewhere from where I used it the other day. Ignore this transaction above. Ignore this. This was from the other day. I just want a general journal out here. If we had recorded this transaction in a general journal, we would have had to do the following. September the 1st, and it's Adrian Mikowski. Accounts receivable, Adrian Mikowski, debit for $848, and then we would have credited sales for $800, and we would have credited sales tax payable for $48. So if we had recorded this in a general journal, this would have been a 3-line entry. In the special journal, it's a 1-line entry. So more efficient. These special headings, special columns, make things a bit more efficient for us, as long as you pay attention to them. All right, next transaction, sold merchandise on account to Columbus City Schools, $875. Columbus City Schools is exempt from taxes. So the amount that they owe and the amount of the sale is one and the same. Put in the date the 11th. Columbus City Schools is our customer. This would be 105, and the amount of that sale was $875. So the sale is $875. There is no tax, and if you wanted to, you can't on Applia, but if you're doing it on paper, you could mark through it just so that it doesn't confuse you. So they owe us the same amount. And again, that would take 3 lines to record. No, it would take 2 lines because there's no sales tax. 2 lines to record in the general journal. And on the 28th, we sold merchandise on account to Swiss Delight. 14th, so that would be, Swiss Delight would be written here. And the amount of the sale was $14.60. The amount of the tax on the sale was $87.60. So the amount that Swiss Delight owes is $1547.60. And again, if I had recorded that in the general journal, that would have required 3 lines. So these 3 lines, these 3 entries in a general journal would have required 3, 6, 7, 8 lines. In the sales journal, it only takes 3. So much more efficient. And if you're paying attention to your column headings, less likelihood of making an error as well. Now, if I were posting this from the general journal, how many postings would be required? 4. 1 to the controlling account, 1 to the subsidiary account, 1 to sales, 1 to sales tax payable. 4 postings. Here, that entry requires how many postings? 1. When we get ready to post this, I only need to post 1 number, this one. And then this line will require 1 posting, and this line will require 1 posting. Then, to post to the controlling account, I'm not going to post 3 separate numbers. What will I post? No, we're not doing that right now, but think about it. Is there any need to post 3 numbers to the controlling account? No. What can I post instead? The column total. I haven't totaled it yet, but I could. And same thing here. Do I need to post 3 separate numbers to the sales account? No. I could post just the column total. And I don't need to post 2 separate numbers to sales tax. I could post just one, the column total. So whereas this would take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 postings, if it were recorded in the general journal, it will take only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 from the sales journal. So for those of us who despise posting because it's tedious and boring, you should like special journals. They simplify your life. All right, now, for this section of Chapter 11, they're only asking us to post to the subsidiary accounts. So we'll only post to those 3 accounts. These will be dealt with later. They're also going to have us take a look at if you, pardon me, if you sell on account, certainly you will eventually receive money on account. Doggone it, I didn't pull out a cash receipts journal. Let me see if I can find one here. Here's one right here. If you sell on account, eventually these people are going to pay you on account. And you'll come in and write the customer's name in again, and it will get credited in this column. Well, they're going to ask us to post from a cash receipts journal also, but only to the subsidiary customer listed here. All of the special columns are posted in column totals at the end of the month. And there's also the possibility that you could have some general journal entries. If a customer returns some of that merchandise, there's a possibility you might have to post to subsidiary accounts from the general journal. And that's going to happen in the Applia problem. So let me move that away, and let's get out of the overhead projector and go to Applia and look at 11-2. Come on. I thought I already had it pulled up, but apparently I did not. I think it's in 1027. Yeah, week of 1027. And we're going to go to 11-2, work together and on your own. If you want to refer to your textbook, that's, whoops, stop on it. Had that page marked in my textbook. Here we go. And now I've turned the page and lost it. In your textbook, it's on page 314. All right, so the instruction says, and I'll pull them up here to read, but I'm going to be glancing over my book a lot. Says partial sales and cash receipts journals for Graphics Incorporated are given below. Also given below are 1 blank accounts receivable ledger account form and a blank form for preparation of a schedule of accounts receivable. You will also need the general journal shown below. Your instructor will guide you through the following examples. First instruction is just to start a new page for an accounts receivable ledger account, a subsidiary account for Brandy Sparks. The account number is 140 and the balance for October 1st of the current year is 212. So let's go open up a ledger for her. Basically what they're wanting us to, what was her name? Brandy Sparks. What they're wanting us to pretend is that the previous ledger page was filled up and we had to start a new page for her. So we'll come in here and put her name, Brandy Sparks, and her customer number is 140. And then the balance will be brought forward on October 1st. And I have to actually write the word balance here to explain why there's a number being written in here when there's no posting. In post reference, I'll put a check mark indicating this number did not come from a journal. It just got carried forward from the previous ledger page. And then that balance that is carried forward is 212. Okay, do y'all follow that? I'm really not certain why they want us to do that, and I guess they just want you to realize that every customer would have a page opened up for them, but this would actually be like a second page for this person because she has an existing balance. So what we're pretending is that her previous ledger page was filled up and we had to start a new one. That's why we have the word balance written here, but no post reference. It didn't come from a journal. Okay, and we have no entry here in the debit and credit columns, just the balance brought forward from the previous page. All right, so that's instruction number 1. Instruction number 2 says post the accounts receivable debit entry on line 5 of the sales journal to the accounts receivable ledger for Brandy Sparks. So let's open up the sales journal, and here it is. Now you need to realize that this would not be the only entry in this journal. The fact that the total line is on line 12 tells me that there would have been 11 entries above this, and all of them would have to be posted. But they're asking us just to do one as an example. So we're going to post to Brandy Sparks's subsidiary ledger account. Which of these numbers will I post to Brandy? There are 3 separate numbers on this same line as Brandy's name. Which one goes to her subsidiary account? The one that says accounts receivable debit. We are posting to the accounts receivable subsidiary ledgers, therefore we need the accounts receivable debit of $576.64. So I'll come down here and I'll pull this date, the 20th. The post reference is what? You tell me. S for sales journal, page 10. This is a debit of $576.64. I'm pulling this number down into here. Now I've got a previous debit balance and a debit entry. What do I do? Add. Got a debit balance and a debit entry, so we will add them. And her new balance is $788.64. And then I take this customer number 140 up here and put it in the post reference column. Now I've had kids before who get confused about that because they're like, well, where do I put the posting to the controlling account and the sales account and the sales tax payable account? We'll deal with that when we post to them. The only post reference that goes here is for Brandy. And then we would have to go and do all of the other customers listed in the sales journal, but they're not asking us to take that much time. All right, so that's that instruction. Instruction number 3 says post the accounts receivable credit entry on line 9 of the cash receipts journal to the accounts receivable account for Alfredo Lopez. So now they want us to go to the cash receipts journal. And obviously there are more entries in this journal than what we see. They're only having us just do a sample of everything. Now at some point we sold to Alfredo on account. Now he's paying us on account. So we need to post this to his ledger. Okay? So let's find Alfredo's ledger. The date that he paid us was the 21st, so we'll put 21st here. What do I put under post reference? CR for cash receipts 12. Page 12. And what am I posting to Alfredo? What amount? A credit of $254.40. So I'll come in here and I'll put $254.40 in the credit column. Now he's got a debit balance and this is a credit entry. What do I need to do? Subtract. Now I don't even really need to subtract. Do you see what happened here? He paid off this old balance, which leaves just this balance. Right? You get that? And then I take that customer number 130 up here to the post reference column to record that that posting happened. All right, now back to the instructions. Post the credit entry on line 3 of the general journal to the accounts receivable account for David Bishop. All right, so let's open up the general journal. And we see here, I'm looking for accounts receivable. I see here accounts receivable David Bishop, where he returned some merchandise. Now I'm not posting to the controlling account right now. I'm only posting to David Bishop. How much will I be posting? Let's open up his ledger.
55.
Yeah, 55.12. All right, so here's the entry. The date was October 12th. He returned some of this merchandise. What's my post reference? G for General Journal, page 11. And what's the amount? Well, David Bishop was credited for $55.12. So I'll put a credit of $55.12. Now I've got a debit balance and a credit entry, so what do? Subtract. Yeah, he returned this merchandise. He doesn't owe us as much. 183.38. Now back to my instructions, and wants me to prepare a schedule of accounts receivable for Graphics Incorporated on October 31st of the current year. Schedules of accounts payable and accounts receivable are very simple. We start with the name of the company, Graphics Incorporated, then the name of the document. This is a schedule of accounts receivable, the date that it was prepared, October 31st, and now we just list all of our subsidiary ledgers, subsidiary customers, in alphabetical order. So we'll start with David Bishop. He does have a balance, so he's going to appear in here. If they have no balance, you don't have to include them on the schedule, but he does have a balance, so let's put that in there, 183.38. And then I'll go to my next subsidiary ledger for Maria Farrell. She does have a balance, so she will also be included here. And that balance is 286.20. And then our next subsidiary customer, Alfredo Lopez, and he has a balance, so he will also be included on the subsidiary ledger. And then our last customer, Brandy Sparks, she also has a balance, so she too will be included in the schedule, 788.64. Now I'm going to total my accounts receivable. Just adding this column up. And I come up with $25.30 and 22 cents. Now that number should be found somewhere else also in my records. Where? This number should also be found somewhere else in my records. Somebody? In my controlling account, accounts receivable. Now unfortunately they don't give me the ledger for the controlling account, but if we go back to the instructions, it says that the ledger and the accounts receivable balance in the general ledger is $25.30.22, and we got $25.30.22. It's important for us to know how much we owe in total. No, I'm sorry, how much is owed to us in total. But it's also important to know how much each individual customer owes. You know, I might get a little bit nervous that Alfredo now owes me $1,272. I can tell you as a business owner myself, anytime one of our customers, and what we sell isn't high-priced items. So when I've got one customer owing me $1,200, I start to get nervous. These smaller amounts don't make me quite as nervous, but those big amounts make you nervous. And you want to go back and look at the account. You want to see how old it is. If it's still under the 30-day mark, probably no need to be nervous. If it's older than 30 days, you might want to start making a phone call to the customer and say, hey, friendly little call here to let you know that your balance was due on such and such a date. It's now 5 days past that. Just want to make sure that there's no problems. If there's anything we can help you do, those kinds of things. I will tell you at Hounds and Hunting, we have accounts receivable also. And when they get very old, I make Tom do the phone calls. I don't do them. It's not just that I'm uncomfortable doing them. It's that Tom sees those men out at the field trials. And it's harder to meet somebody in the eye when you owe money, isn't it? So those guys, if they get a phone call from Tom saying, hey, and he does it very friendly, he's very good about it, his business training kicks in. But if they get a phone call from Tom saying, your account's a little bit old here, we really need to see some payment, and they know, oh man, I might see him at a trial next week. I don't want to see him at a trial knowing that I've got an old account with him. They're more likely to send a payment in. I don't know why it works that way, but it does. And then some of those guys who have old accounts, they'll still go to the trials, but they make sure they don't have to ever face Tom. Tom says it's kind of funny. They're practically running away from him. Because it's embarrassing to owe people money, I guess. Or to have an old account. It's not embarrassing to owe people money. It's embarrassing to owe people money and not pay them. All right, so that's how we post to the accounts receivable ledgers, subsidiary ledgers. Let me take a look at my daily agenda for a moment. I'm pretty certain all I had on it was for you to do the on your own problem, especially since we've got shortened class periods today. That's about all we'll get handled. Here's my accounting daily agenda. Yes. I want you to try, and I have assign it, but I'm not pushing it out as an assignment through Applia. I want you to try on your own 11-2. It's like what we did today, and then we're going to pick up tomorrow with how to post column totals. All right? Let me end the recording.